Good evening, friends, and welcome to Sleepy Time Tales, a sleep aid podcast aimed at helping you to get a restful night. Do you find your mind plagued with the stresses of modern life, especially when the lights are out and you're trying to get a restful night? Do you find your mind spinning and churning? Follow my voice down the path towards a restful night. Listen to me tell a story that will keep your mind from wandering to your daytime problems, the ones that you can't solve right now and will probably be easier to solve with a solid night's rest. Listen to my voice and allow yourself to drift, following the twists and turns, but slowly letting go and drifting into the deep night, into a restful sleep. To start off the section, this is normally where I do a little bit of promotional stuff. Tonight I'm going to start with something a little bit unusual. A while ago I got a private message on Twitter from a Dr. Muhammad Emran, who is the host of the Simple Health Radio podcast. It is quite an interesting show, very short episodes that go into specific health-related issues. He asked me to submit a question and a bit of a promo for this show. So obviously, being a sleep podcast, I submitted a sleep-related question. I now asked the doctor to explain what the long-term effects of insomnia are, and he gave a very good and sometimes quite alarming explanation about the downsides of not getting enough sleep. Quite an interesting show. I will provide a link so you can have a listen to the particular episode. And also, it's a show worth checking out. It's got a lot of, he goes into quite interesting stuff. Some recent episodes are about what vitamins do vegetarians need, information about sciatica, how to lower your blood pressure. So it talks about what causes gout and a few things like that. So quite an interesting show. As I said, I'll provide a link so anyone who wants to check it out, it can. And please do give him some support because he was very kind to invite me to submit a question and a promo for future use. Having done that, I want to also make a direct appeal to my faithful listeners. There are a number of you out there, and I appreciate you guys very much. But I would like to try getting in front of a few more listeners. So the best thing for that actually is particularly people who listen on iPads or our phones or iTunes, the best thing is to rate and review. Apple Podcasts is still the big daddy of the podcast world, so 5-star reviews and also 5-star ratings rather and reviews there are extremely helpful. To make it very, very easy, I've set up a link directly to my Apple Podcasts store page. You can go to apple.sleepytimetales.net. That'll take you directly where you can rate and review. And also, obviously, that'll be in the show notes. I'm asking please if anybody can, that would be much appreciated. And if you make it interesting or funny, I will read it out in the intro in the following episode. So thank you very much. And then down to the standard business. If you are somebody who finds this show helpful to you regularly, a couple of times a week or every night, it also will be helpful to share with your friends and family, anybody else you know who's struggling to sleep. Or even if it doesn't help you, it might help somebody else because as many different people as there are different types of insomnia. So you can, and then, the usual business, you can find the show's website on sleepytimetales.net. Any comments, questions, suggestions, you can email to contact@sleepytimetales.net. You can find the show on Twitter @sleepytimetales, on Facebook at facebook.com/sleepytimetalespodcast. I also have a YouTube channel because some people do like to listen to sleep aids on YouTube. I'm a little bit behind, but I'm going to get caught up in the next couple of weeks on getting all those episodes up. They're simple visualizer enhanced versions of the standard episodes. I set up a nice easy link for it. It's youtube.sleepytimetales.net. Also, the link will be in the show notes for that. On the website as well will be a link to a newsletter which you can sign up. I haven't sent anything out yet, so I'm not going to be spamming anybody with anything irrelevant, but anything interesting that I come across, particularly sleep-related stuff, I will be sending on. So please sign up. It may be worthwhile getting something in your inbox every now and then. Now, also, if you're finding this show useful or enjoying it and it's helping you a few nights a week, I would appreciate a little bit of support to help me cover costs. I've mentioned before I set up a Patreon recently. I jumped the gun on it, to be honest, because I wanted to essentially squat on my name, because Patreon also was making some changes to their fee structure, which they made on the 7th of May, and since then it's a lot more expensive and less flexible for new creators. So I got one set up, and I actually have someone who decided to sign up and give me some support, which is much appreciated. And anybody else who would like to, please feel free. I've got the main thing I think actually is, if you're finding the show useful, it's maybe help me keep it running by contributing a little bit as you can. But then also I have got a few little rewards for Patreon backers at the $5 level. Well, I have a $1 level, which gives you a shout out on the website, the Sleepy Time Tales website. At the $5 level, you get a shout out there as well, a little credit, and also you get access to a custom feed with promotion and ad-free episodes. At the $10 level, if you're really wanting to dig deep, there's also, as well as the access to the previous levels, there is also story-only episodes that have no intro or outro, and obviously no promotion or any kind of advertising. And then also I'm doing a monthly movie review podcast. I did Bumblebee for the month of May, and I have a poll up for anybody who wants to sign up and get in on that to vote for one for June. That ends on the 3rd of June, so you can wait until after the billing date, so it'll only so you can jump in there and sign up and vote for a movie that I'm going to have to watch and do a review of by the end of June. I do want to highlight, though, with the Patreon stuff, even a single $1 is genuinely useful to me. The costs for running this are not particularly high, and I live in a country where the value of $1 is actually fairly significant. So even a single $1 on the Patreon will be very useful and much appreciated. And also, if you don't want to contribute monthly, I do have a tip jar up on the website as well, where you can just kick a little bit my way anytime you feel like it. The Patreon can be found at patreon.com/sleepytimetales, or my own link is patron.sleepytimetales.net. Also, if you don't have the money available to contribute, don't feel guilty at all. It's quite alright. I have a lot more things I listen to than I can contribute to, unfortunately. If you are going to be doing some shopping, though, you can use, I have affiliate links to Amazon for any sleep-related items, and if you are via those, any purchase made gives me a little bit something as well, which can potentially help me cover some costs. So if you're on the market for anything sleep-related or not, feel free to use any of those links off my website. Also, the music in this episode and all episodes thus far is Un Désert by Kumiku. Their music is available on the Free Music Archive. I've linked their website and their Patreon in the show notes, as they have some very cool stuff released under various names that I recommend checking out. And if you want to use music for anything in particular, there's options there that are quite distinctive that you might be able to find something useful to you. So what exactly is Sleepy Time Tales, and what is a sleep aid podcast? To answer your question, let me start with a common problem. Do you find yourself lying awake at night with your mind spinning in emotions and turmoil with the anxieties of 21st century life? Do you wake up in the middle of the night and find yourself not quite able to doze back off at 3 a.m.? I'm here to help. My name is Dave, and I'm your narrator, here to talk you into a restful night. I'm someone who has struggled to sleep ever since I was a baby, And it was quite recently that I discovered that droning male voices have a tendency to knock me out. I started listening to podcasts specifically for that purpose. After finding ones that I enjoyed, I was falling asleep to them. And then eventually I found out that sleep aid podcasts are a thing. I tried one out that was worked quite well for me, but when I recommended it to other people, they didn't like the narrator's voice. So I figured I've got a boring, drony voice, so let me try one of my own, and here I am. Welcome. This whole beginning section wanders a little bit, but there is this purpose for it. I want to explain to new listeners the purpose of the structure and how the show works. And this is an opportunity for older listeners as well, people who've been with me since the beginning, to start preparing to sleep, to prepare their space and themselves to so that we can build a space together, a nest for you to rest in. The idea is that you listen to me closely as I tell you tonight's story, that you listen just enough to stop the spinning mind that prevents you from having a restful night's sleep. Tonight is a recap of an episode of Twin Peaks, which is a show that gets strange and sometimes a little bit disturbing, but I try to keep it as light as possible. The main thing is that I just want you to keep your mind engaged just enough that it doesn't wander. Insomniacs, often we tend to lie awake and stare at the ceiling and worry about life. But what I need you to do is just try pay attention to the story that I tell just enough that your mind doesn't spin and wander, but don't pay so much attention that it keep you awake myself. Although between my droning voice and the boring way I tell tonight's story, that shouldn't happen. I'm hoping that you're asleep before I get to the end of the episode, but it's very important that you don't feel pressurized. It may not work on the first night. It may take a few nights for you to get used to listening to my voice. You may take you a little while to develop the habit of sleep, because if you're an insomniac, it's something maybe that you haven't really done much in your life, not successfully anyway. The important thing is that you relax. Pay just enough attention that your mind doesn't spin and you can slowly wander off and drift off into sleep. Sometimes with myself, when I wake up at 3 a.m., I will put a sleep aid podcast on, and that helps me get back to sleep. I used to be a person who struggled to get to sleep. That's less of an issue now, but then I wake up at inopportune times and then don't fall back asleep. And sleep aid podcasts help me there as well. Sometimes even wake up just before my alarm goes, like 30, 40 minutes or so. And even then I put the podcast on and fall back asleep, because I got to tell you, that 30 minutes, there's something about it when you about to get up and you just let yourself fall asleep. It's just like, it's so satisfying. That I can have an 8-hour sleep if I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, fall asleep again, and wake up at 6 with my alarm. That last 30 minutes can be the best part of the night. So relax, dear listener. My nighttime friend who's elected to lie in the dark, listening to my voice. I just want to make sure that you understand that you will always be safe with me. I'm here to help you relax, to improve your life in a small way, or maybe not so small. People don't sleep very well these days, and it makes their lives harder. So I'm here to do my small part to help you in a big way, to help you to face tomorrow and the day after, well-rested and better able to cope and process. I believe very strongly in the benefits of kindness. I want to be kind to you. I want to share kindness with you. I want you to be kind to yourself. So if your things don't go as well tonight as you might hope, don't beat yourself up or rebuke yourself over not sleeping. Don't get tense if you just can't fall asleep, even with me here in your ears trying to help. Frustration is one of the great enemies of a good night's sleep, and the intention of this podcast is to short-circuit that frustration, to distract the feeling that we get when I blame ourselves for not being able to drift into the dark. So take a breath. Forgive the fact that you can't sleep and let my voice wash over you. Take another breath. Imagine the warm darkness rising up, inviting you to sleep into a better life starting tomorrow. And if you can't let go, forgive yourself and try again tomorrow. If you've had a life of insomnia, sleep is something like an enemy. But it is not your enemy. It is a natural process that we have been pulled away from by stress and life and the progressive technology that shines bright lights in our eyes at all hours. So I'm here to work with you, to create a safe space, a cocoon in which you can curl up and allow nature to take its course. So if you're still with me, thank you for staying. If you're already asleep, we'll chat again soon. And of course, you aren't hearing me, except maybe in a dream. Twin Peaks Episode 4, The One-Armed Man. We open up tonight's episode in the Palmer house, where Sarah Palmer is busy describing her vision of the killer Bob to Harry and a police sketch artist. Donna is also there, as well as cousin Maddie, who you'll recall is Laura's cousin, who she is played by the same actress, so she looks identical except for wearing glasses and having brown hair. Leland is there as well, looking quite dismissive and agitated. He doesn't seem to have much stock in his wife's apparent visions and clear sight, or whatever you want to call it. He dismissively tells Sarah, tell them about the necklace. Harry asks what he means, and Sarah tells him about the vision she had the night after Donna and James had hidden the necklace, the heart, broken half of a heart that James and Donna buried in the forest underneath a rock. That was, Sarah saw it being dug out by a man wearing gloves. At this point, we know that it's Dr. Jacoby who came and found the heart, because he has it in a coconut husk in his Hawaiian-themed apartment. Don't know why he's hiding the evidence, but I'm sure we'll find out at some stage. It's interesting at this point that, although we know about the bookhouse by now, so we know that Harry believes there is something strange about Twin Peaks. He seems to be taking the allegations of Sarah having a vision quite seriously, more seriously than you would probably actually expect a police sheriff to take this sort of thing. So, but I guess living in Twin Peaks means people learn not to be overly skeptical. Sarah tells of her vision, and of course Donna, because she hid the heart to help cover for James, because she didn't want him to be connected to the night of Laura's death, although by this point we know James has been essentially cleared of the murder, so she's looking guilty. We see again the soap opera. It's the second time it's popped up, Invitation to Love. They're busy talking about a necklace in the Palmer house, and it starts out with the camera focused in on a necklace, although a very different one, a very shiny, sparkly, fancy, expensive-looking necklace on the ample bosom of a soap actress. The very attractive woman is hitting on a man who mentions he's married to her sister. He's a rather nerdy-looking guy. I say this without judgment, as a rather nerdy-looking guy myself, but she's definitely out of his league, and if his sister looks anything like her, she's also out of his league, but yeah, soapies, who knows. We see that the person watching the soap opera at the time is actually Lucy. She's at work at her desk with the TV going. Harry comes in, interrupts her viewing, asks Lucy what's going on, and she gives a very detailed rundown of events in the soap opera, which, what can I say, it's a soap opera, brothers and sisters and cheating and all sorts of stuff. And of course that was not what Harry was asking about. He wanted to know what was going on in the station. She realizes that he's not asking about events in the Invitation to Love, and she tells Harry that Dr. Jacoby has come in to speak to him. Harry goes in, where we see Dr. Jacoby is in the conference room with Dale. Jacoby is doesn't want to answer questions too clearly because of confidentiality reasons. I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure that confidentiality ends when a patient dies, but I could be wrong. But I think it would probably, especially when the psychiatrist and potentially psychiatric issues may have been a factor in her death. But I'm no expert. Maybe I should have looked it up before I started recording, but anyway. So Jacoby will not answer any direct questions about Laura Palmer and her consultations with him. So Dale basically asks 20 questions. He asks if Laura had problems of a sexual nature. He says something along the lines of sexual problems are very common, which is probably a yes. Dale asks about if Laura used cocaine. Jacoby says essentially sometimes people need things to help them when they're in pain, and Laura was in a lot of pain, so that's also probably a yes. Dr. Jacoby does tell Dale that Laura was a girl or a woman. He refers to her as a woman with a lot of secrets. Laura was a woman with a lot of secrets that Dr. Jacoby couldn't figure out. He says that Bobby and James were boys and Laura was a woman, so she was beyond the two of them. To be honest, from what we know of Bobby and James, while James is a nicer boy than Bobby, they both seem really immature and childish, so I tend to agree with them. I tend to suspect that Dr. Jacoby is right about his assessment of Laura's two boyfriends, or at least the two we know about, because we know that Laura had sex with 3 men on the night of her murder. Dr. Jacoby does mention that he followed Laura Palmer, and he saw someone with a red Corvette. And we know that Leo Johnson, the rather dangerous drug dealer and apparently rather violent man, is an owner of a red Corvette. A phone call gets put through by Lucy to the conference room. It is a call from Dale's supervisor, and I had the wherewithal to pull up a list of characters here. This is an interesting little piece of trivia. Dale's supervisor is Gordon Cole. He's the FBI regional bureau chief for the area. Played on the phone by David Lynch, the creator of the show and occasional director. So that's actually quite a fun little piece of trivia. I haven't even got to the trivia section at the end yet. So we have this call comes through. Gordon confirms about the 2 types of twine. One is an extremely common type, one is different but slightly rarer. He mentions that the bites on Laura that Albert mentioned were from birds. Personally, I don't know, I thought that maybe they were going to be human bites from the situation she'd been in, but I guess not. Of course, human bites would also be pretty distinctive. I'm just trying to imagine bird bites all over a person, like, strange. I mean, I've been bitten by birds. My sister had a wild little lovebird that was fine most of the time until you tried to touch it, and then it would viciously attack you, even though it could walk around you all the time. But as long as you didn't try to touch it, you were fine. Gordon does mention that Albert is trying to make a complaint about Harry assaulting him. Cooper stands up for Harry, points out that Gordon knows as much as Dale does that Albert's a bit of a jerk, to put it lightly. So it's inevitable that somebody would stand up for themselves eventually one day. Cooper gets excited. Gordon says, just calm down, don't hang up, and Cooper hangs up on him. The police sketch artist comes in with the sketch made from Sarah Palmer's dream. It's the picture of the man from the dream, which Dale confirms. I didn't make a note here, but I think I remember them asking Dr. Jacoby if... No, they didn't. I thought that maybe asked Dr. Jacoby if he recognized the face, but I don't think he did. He'd left at this point. A phone call comes through from Hawk. Says he's found the one-armed man at another nearby hotel. Not the Great Northern, a different one though. We go to the outside of a hotel that's not the Great Northern. Interesting coincidence. Josie Packard is there outside. She has been following Catherine, who is having a hookup session with Ben. Catherine's very smug and crowing about hiding the real ledger and leaving the fake cookbook that Josie had found when she was trying to show Harry about the fraud that seems to have been taking place at the mall, where Catherine is basically running it into the ground for I don't know what Ben's plan is in the long run, to take over the mall, to burn it down and replace it with something else, I'm guessing. Hawk is waiting, and Harry and Dale get to their hotel. Hawk says there's a man called Gerard in room 101 who is the one-armed man that they are there to have a chat to. We go back to Ben and Catherine, who for a second I thought that they might actually be in the room 101 that they're coming to, but it turns out that they weren't, but they are nearby. Dale, Hawk, Harry and Andy, the crying deputy, are all standing outside the room 101. Dale, it was, I think, knocks on the door, asks Mr. Gerard to open up. There's no answer, so they will get ready to breach the door. Andy takes out his revolver, drops it, which goes off. Everyone looks quite alarmed. Ben and Catherine jump up. I mean, you got to be alarmed. The gun just dropping on the floor and going off is extremely dangerous. Ben and Catherine jump up. Oh, look like gunfire. They strange people that look a little bit excited about this whole situation. But Ben says, no, it's time for me to be going. So he starts putting his pants on to leave. Harry kicks the door in. There's a man wearing a towel only, standing in a closet. Obviously everyone's very alarmed. He could turn around with a weapon or something, because you can't see the arm that is towards the closet. He turns around and there's no arm. We have here the one-armed man that looks very much like the one-armed man called Mark that was in Dale's dream at the end of the first episode. Was it first episode or second episode? Second. Yeah, it's the same guy. He's looking quite surprised at having a whole bunch of armed police officers burst in. Ben, we cut again to Ben. He sneaks off. He picks up a little toy Elvis, like a little action figure type thing. He says, I'm going to give Elvis a bath, which is an odd thing to say. Something falls out of his pocket as he leaves, which Catherine picks up, and it's a $1,000 casino chip from One-Eyed Jacks. Mr. Gerard doesn't recognize the police sketch of the person who supposedly his acquaintance, the killer Bob. He does, however, have a local friend called Bob who is a vet, actually. Mr. Gerard is a traveling shoe salesman. He lost his arm in a car accident. Dale asks him about what tattoo he had. Dale is absolutely certain that he had a tattoo because that was what his dream said. Remember the dreams, in the dream the tattoo supposedly said, "Fire, walk with me," and Mark cut his arm off to get rid of the tattoo. Mr. Gerard is upset and starts crying as he says, "My tattoo said Mom." So he did have a tattoo, but apparently, according to him, it didn't say "Fire, walk with me," as he starts sobbing. They go outside and they're leaving. Hawk tells Harry that Josie had been outside. Not sure why, but she was casing the place or staking the place out before he even got there. We go now to the high school, the girls' bathroom, where Donna is putting on some makeup and Audrey comes in. She complains that they do algebra, which they're never going to use in real life. She says there's no such thing as algebra in real life, which of course we know is not accurate. There is such a thing as algebra, even though it is correct that we generally don't use it much. Donna mentions, well, if you don't want to do algebra and you don't need it in real life, why don't you go join the circus? Audrey actually seems to take the suggestion a little bit seriously because she loves the idea of running away. Of course, her idea of running away is to be whisked away by a handsome FBI agent, a certain Dale Cooper, tall, dark, and handsome, which Donna finds interesting, but we know that she's taken a fancy to Dale already, so she wants Dale to take her away. While Laura was a person with a lot of secrets, Audrey seems to be a very observant person. I'm going to use the word that I don't think actually exists in the English language there. Audrey seems to be a very observant person. She knows about Laura's relationship with James, and she knows about the, as she phrases it, nose candy, the cocaine that Laura used to deal with her difficulties in her life. Audrey has figured out that Laura used to go see Jacoby, the psychiatrist, and she suspects that Laura worked at One-Eyed Jack's. Donna agrees to help Audrey to try to find out what happened. She agrees to help Audrey find out what happened. Because, again, Audrey didn't particularly like Laura, but she is grateful for her help for Johnny, and she thinks it's going to impress Agent Cooper. So she is going to go get a job at the perfume counter at her father's department store, the one where Renette Pulaski and Laura Palmer had both worked before their encounters with the mysterious killer. We cut to a meeting where Laura is meeting with her lawyer. She seems to be in a courthouse or something of the sort. She is going to see Hank, who we know is up for parole. Hank, of course, is her husband, who has been in prison for a few years for manslaughter. Hank is desperate to get out. He tells Norma that he has changed. Norma, of course, played by the late, gone blank on her name, I'm a terrible person, played by the late Peggy Lipton, sorry, it's a bit of an unusual name, so that's why it slipped from me, who passed away, as I'm recording, just over a week ago. We go into the hearing where Hank is giving a statement. He's talking about what happened. He says it was an accident. Apparently he lost control of a vehicle and killed a homeless person. He is saying it was fate or luck. The commissioners or committee members who are doing the hearing ask if she's willing to take Hank back as her husband. She says that she is, and she's going to give him a job in her diner, which she owns. The lady who's the head of the hearing says they will make their decision by the afternoon. Hank is looking confident as everybody goes out. We're at a gas station. Hank and Dale pull up. Hawk and Andy are already there. Dale asks Andy to go buy some twine. We find out now that the gas station is attached to the vet's office, where Bob Lydecker, the one-armed man, Mr. Gerard's good friend, has his office. An alpaca or llama runs past. Rather an adorable animal. Seems in a good mood, didn't spit at anybody. Andy comes with the twine. They go and speak to the receptionist. Dale talks to her a little bit, an older lady, and then Dale says that we are going to be confiscating all of your files. Because Dale believes that the bird that attacked Laura is a client at the vet's office. I don't know if this is before or after, because it did emerge, I think it was before when he spoke to Gordon on the phone, Laura was attacked by a bird that was either a parrot or a myna, which I find interesting because parrots and miners are very different looking animals with very different looking beaks, or at least as I understand it. We have miners in South Africa, and they've got a sharp, long beak, completely unlike a parrot's beak. And this is different species of miners, which is possible. Looking at the picture, no, I don't think so. So I don't know how you can mix up miner and parrot parts, but anyway. Shirley and Bobby are at Shirley and Leo's house, where she's straddling him and they are making out. They're talking about the events at the funeral. She tells Bobby that Leo is with his friend Jacques. Bobby gets distracted when he realizes that Jacques is the drug-dealing bartender from the Roadhouse. Bobby tells Shelley about Leo and Jacques and the drug dealing and smuggling. He doesn't mention his part in it, though. Shelley shows Bobby Leo's blood-covered shirt, which gets Bobby quite excited. He says this is going to be an answer to our prayers, and he asks her for it. Shelley asks, is it Shelley or Shirley? Shelley Johnson. Shelley asks Bobby what he's going to do about it. He says, you don't need to know. But Leo won't be a problem for much longer. I've got to say, Leo and Bobby both don't treat Shelley very nicely at all. They're very dismissive of her. Although it's also possible that Bobby doesn't want to tell her in case she has to give evidence better she doesn't know. She also shows Bobby the little pearl-handled silver automatic pistol that she has hidden away. We find out she doesn't know how to use it, but Bobby says that he will teach her. We're back at the police station where Harry gives Lucy all the files from the vet and asks her to look for bird owners, specifically miners or parrots. Andy is very apologetic about dropping the gun. He's never pulled one in anger before, so he didn't really know how to handle it. Which, something that's quite interesting is, like, everyone is very supportive of him. Like, no one is upset at him about what happened, or, like, I mean, somebody could have got killed. He'd be justified at being quite angry, but no, everybody's very warm and supportive and trying to be careful, trying to be helpful. Andy goes to tell Lucy what has happened, but Lucy is strangely offish. She's normally been very friendly to Andy, but tonight, not so much. Everyone goes down to the basement where the shooting range is. Andy mentions he doesn't know why Lucy is upset with him. Because, of course, Dale, in his creepy insights into human nature, did ask Andy straight up, like, why is Lucy so upset? And he is genuinely terrified of his gun. He and Hawk step up to make some shots. Hawk, of course, is a very good shot. Andy hasn't hit the target at all, so he has agreed to practice, I think it was 3 times a week, to try to get a better handle on it. Harry and Dale are talking. Harry asks Dale if he's ever been married. Dale says no, but he was in a committed relationship and his heart was broken. Harry and Dale both step up to their marks and take some shots. Hawk has a profound assessment of relationships. I can't remember what he said. It was like something out of a greeting card. We see Harry's son. He's a very good shot. He had an excellent grouping. He asks Dale, why have you only got 4 holes in your paper, which they're all in the head section. Dale said, no, I'll put 2 through each eye and 2 through the nostrils, because it looks like a little bit of a smiley face. So it turns out Dale is such a good shot, he could shoot through the holes of his previous shots. We go back to the diner where Norma is getting paid and gets a tip. It wasn't a very good one. She makes a little snarky comment about her retirement coming. Shelley comes in. Not looking very happy. Norma knows that Shelley's up to mischief with Bobby, so she asks her how she's doing. Shelley says, I've got one man too many in my life and I'm married to him. Norma suggests that he's got a similar problem. She didn't tell Hank about her plans to divorce him for Ed. James comes in. see him wandering in. Norma tells Shelley that we're going to take the day off to go get rid of pampering my treats. They're going to go on a spa day. James goes to Donna, where he tells her, he phones Donna. She picks up the phone. Doc finds out it's James, invites him to come to the church potluck. James sees Maddie come in. Now, remember, Maddie is the same actress as Laura, so he is stunned at the similarity, like completely speechless. Maddie asks James if he knew Laura well. James says, I thought I did, but obviously secrets are coming out already, and he also maybe would have been a bit surprised that maybe Laura didn't share the fact that she has an identical cousin. Norma gets a phone call. We find out that Hank has gotten his parole, so he'll be coming home. We cut to Ben at the Great Northern Hotel. He's on a stationary bike talking to someone from Iceland on the phone. He's being his oily, smarmy salesman self. Cuts to his brother Jerry. Where he's suddenly a lot less charming about his Icelander friend. We see Jerry seems to be the person who lays the groundwork for the business deals that the brothers make. Audrey comes in to speak to Ben. Ben calls her honey, but is pretty hostile. We've seen before that their relationship is not a very warm one. Audrey asks Ben if he's ashamed of her, which as a father must be one of the most difficult things in the world to hear, except Ben's giant butt, so maybe he doesn't really care. Ben just says, well, it's not that I'm ashamed of you, it's just that I can't depend on you. Audrey wants to start helping in the family business. She will do anything. She will start at the bottom. He says to her, okay, then go clean some rooms. And she says, no, I want to start at the perfume counter, because obviously she's got some kind of plot, thinking maybe also an attractive young girl working at the perfume counter. Maybe the killer's going to come after her or something so she can flush him out. Not the worst idea in the world, except it's extremely dangerous, obviously, but it's the sort of thing they come up with in TV shows. Initially, Ben doesn't believe her, but she lays it on really thick, and eventually he decides to take her at her word. Ben agrees to it. Audrey gives him a hug, and she leaves because she gives him a hug, and over his shoulder she sees on the sideboard there's an unframed photo of her with Laura. It's quite a strange thing to have lying around, an unframed photo of your daughter and her very attractive friend, who Audrey has already mentioned that Ben was fascinated with. The phone rings, Ben answers and asks Audrey to leave because he has to do some business. Audrey goes out, looks back at him, look quite full of meaning. We obviously know she's plotting. We find out that Ben is on the phone with Leo, and Ben makes an agreement to meet with him down at the river. Earlier on, something I forgot to mention was Lucy said that all the files from the veterinary office were organized by animal name, so were very difficult to search through by herself. So Harry, Dale, and Andy are all looking through files. There's a phone call for Dale. It's Gordon. There's been a reconstruction of the plastic object that was found in Laura's stomach, the plastic letter J. They faxed her a picture. It's a piece of a poker chip, which looks very much like the one-eyed Jack poker chips. It's at this point where we found out that the bird bites are from a myna or a parrot. As they're going through that, because right now they're looking for any bird. Andy is digging through the files, and he shouts out Waldo. Now, obviously, Where's Waldo or Where's Wally are those books with the guy with the stripy shirt. So we have a little bit of a joke there. But we find out that he actually has called it out because there's a myna bird called Waldo, owned by Jacques Renault, the drug-dealing bartender from the Roadhouse. Harry, Dale, and Hawk arrive at Jacques Renault's home. They go and knock on the door. where we see Bobby is actually in Jacques' house. He's sneaking around. He sneaks out the window and runs off. He gets chased by a hawk in the police car, but Bobby gets away. Dale finds Leo's blood-covered shirt in the laundry in Jacques' house. So this is very handy evidence to find, obviously. We cut to go to the woods, the deep, dark woods, where we see Leo's bright red Corvette. Leo's waiting and Ben arrives. Ben is quite upset at Leo's choice of vehicle because a flashy sports car maybe not the best thing to be making drug deals with. But Leo doesn't really seem to care about anybody's opinion about anything. He's dismissive of Ben's concerns. We see that there is a body lying near Leo. It's Jacques' brother Bernard, who Leo picked up after he made bail, and obviously Leo's tidied up a loose end here. Jacques Renault has gone back to Canada, and he is never coming back. So the connections connecting the drug dealers to Ben and Leo have been tidied up. Leo has made the agreement to torch the mill. Ben pays him for that job. Ben does not want it to look like an accident. He wants it to look like arson, so that they can blame Josie for the burning it down because it's broke. Because remember, Catherine has run it into the ground and is using fake books. We're still in the woods, but now we're with Donna and James, who get to where they hid the necklace before. They move the rock where it was buried, and they find that it's gone. So Sarah's vision, they know, is true, and that someone is out there with the necklace. Laura had told Donna that she sometimes got visions and that her mother got them as well, and Donna, now after this whole situation, believes it. James is ready to go to the police about the necklace, but Donna stops him. She believes that they need to find her killer. Everyone wants to find the killer. Maybe if they all work together, it might be more effective. But anyway, they start kissing each other vigorously over the site where the necklace had come from. I was a teenager. I sympathized with getting situations and maybe not quite the most tasteful settings. We go back again to the Packard house where the phone rings. Josie answered. It's Harry calling to say he won't be able to come. He asks her why she was at the other hotel, but she dodges and doesn't answer. Pete comes up, looking at the list of characters. I actually never realized that Pete was Catherine's husband. I always kind of assumed they were brother-sister because they dislike each other intensely. But I don't know. Bad marriages, maybe that can happen as well. Josie has made him a sandwich, or offers to make him a sandwich. He invites her to come fishing with him. He is a keen competitive angler, as we know. His fishing club has a mixed doubles category opening up, and he would like Josie to join him for that, which is rather cute. He seems to really like her, but like in a sort of, not a weird way, just a sort of friendly way. She says that she would like that. She can't fish herself, but Pete says he'll do all the fishing for both of them. And he goes out. Josie is going through the mail where she finds a drawing of a domino. I didn't take note of what the pattern on the domino was, but so it's a very, very nice, actually, pencil rendering of a domino. It looked really well done. She goes to the phone, walks past I don't know why, this house is an old country lodge, so obviously it's full of taxidermied animals, but there's a very creepy looking bear that for some reason made me feel very uncomfortable. The phone rings. I think she phoned. I actually can't remember. The phone rings. It's Hank phoning her. That's, of course, Norma's husband, the one who's about to get parole. We found out that the domino was a message from him to her, and he says to her, "I'll catch you later." That's a sort of phrase that could be a promise or a threat or just something to say to somebody. In the context of this show, probably not good news, but who knows? We don't know what their relationship is at the moment. And we cut to credits. So thank you for joining me on this episode of the Sleepy Time Tales podcast, the sleep aid podcast designed around a bedtime story to help you get a restful night. New episodes will be released every Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on how I get them out. So make sure to subscribe in whatever service you use so that you get new episodes when they arrive. But whatever happens, I will always have a new episode for you at the beginning of the week to help you smooth your nights out. A reminder that the music for tonight is Un Désert by Kuniku. Check out more of their work on their website and their Patreon, which you will find linked in the show notes. Good night and sweet dreams.